There's nothing wrong with wanting things to end smoothly, but before you contact someone from your past, take this into consideration. You are not required to rekindle a relationship with someone that you chose to give forgiveness to. When you're in pain and alone, it's only natural to want to get in touch with old friends and acquaintances, particularly if there's unresolved issues with them, especially in light of the growing isolation that was brought on by a worldwide epidemic. It is absolutely up to you whether you reach out or not. For what it's worth, I don't necessarily believe that trying is a terrible idea. In the majority of situations, an oops seems more preferable than a what if. Regardless of the outcome, you will gain some knowledge. Even if it may be uncomfortable, the truth will benefit you in some manner. But before you send that text, email, or dial the number to call, there's a few things that I think you should think about first. One of the first things that you should take into consideration is the reasons as to why you want to reach out to this person. What is the truth behind this urge? You need to think twice if you're only reaching out to them to alleviate yourself of your solitude and loneliness. If you're considering getting in touch with someone and your relationship is ended, there could still be some unresolved hurt for both of you, and contacting them will just cause the wounds to reopen. Maybe a lengthy period has passed and any discomfort is now a lot less severe than it was before, but we can't fool ourselves considering that things were so bad that you haven't spoken to this person for months. There will undoubtedly be something there, something negative is in the air between the two. If you're planning to actually reach out to this person, then your reaching out has to be advantageous compared to any potential harm that could result from it. And only if you sincerely want to get connected to that individual. In other words, the person and the connection must be worth any initial discomfort that could result from interacting with them. Be honest with yourself and question if you actually want to communicate with that individual. Do you actually miss them, or is it only your relationship to them that you miss? Or maybe you're just lonely. Don't reach out if, after some thought, you discover it's the isolation that's motivating you. It's really unfair to both of you. It won't be worth the suffering. The other person needs to genuinely matter to you, and it can't simply be about you or how you're feeling in the moment. Don't let them suffer as a result of your fight against your own isolation, since all they'll be is a victim. You won't always feel lonely. That sensation is usually very fleeting, much like desperation or the urge to express something. It's going to go away. And when it does, so does your want for their attention. I've no doubt in my mind that this has happened to many of us more than once, and it's not a pleasant feeling. I once received an unexpected call from a former partner. We had a very chaotic relationship, and during the time that we were together, our individual lives were complete shit shows, and we'd never been able to fully wipe our separate lives clean before we came together. So our relationship eventually fell victim to our individual issues. I could still sense something there though. Despite the fact that the last rites had been performed, I was aware that I had never fully given up hope. At first, I was ecstatic that they had gotten in touch, although I was unsure if anything could be saved. I was no longer eager to try. short while, I had to realize that my aspirations could have been severely misplaced. We talked for a few days and then he started to veer away. His decreasing interest was evident in the way the messages started to dry up and in the way he would abruptly avoid big topic conversations, which we'd openly addressed up until that point. He even told me explicitly that he wasn't feeling lonely or unhappy anymore, but I had already anticipated that. He had accomplished his goal and mellowed down whatever emotions he was experiencing, so he really didn't need my presence anymore. It wasn't about me, but rather about him and what he was going through at the time. I was upset, but not outraged since I'd done it before, and it would be very unfair for me to just put all the blame on them. Overall, there wasn't a compelling enough cause to reopen the old wounds. The foundation of reconciliation cannot be loneliness. It is a protracted, difficult journey. It only functions if both parties sincerely desire to make amends and regenerate into each other's lives. So, try to discover a more healthy approach to feeling connected if you're in the same situation. And yes, I am aware that loneliness is terrible and crippling and a difficult task to take on. I've struggled with loneliness for some time, so I'm not trying to downplay the negative effects that it may have on your mental health. However, acknowledging your loneliness is a wonderful first step to take towards taking action. A foundation is realizing that you miss individuals in general and not just one specific person. It's a foundation where you can build something sturdy. Another thing that you really need to take into consideration is, what are you actually trying to accomplish by reaching out to this individual? In the same way that you have to be clear about your motivations for reaching out, you must also be certain about your goals. There doesn't need to be a big, overly complicated strategy in place beforehand if all you want to do is try to reestablish communication with the aim of future reconciliation. However, there should be an ultimate goal that you're reaching for. Additionally, it needs to be grounded in the connection that you had. It would be absurd to just expect all of the problems of a relationship to be fixed in a single message if it was inherently dysfunctional or codependent and took more than it gave. Maybe all you want to do is check to see if anything has changed and if there's even a remote chance that the harm can be repaired. It may be a tiny something, but it is a required something. If the only reply that you have to offer is, I don't really know what it is that I want to attain, then it's probably just your loneliness or some irrational desire speaking for you. And taking a step back is the proper course of action in this moment. Avoid entering this without knowing what you want from it. There will undoubtedly be some suffering and pain, so consider what you aim to accomplish by perhaps causing this specific wound to reopen. And once you've established your reason why and the goal that you're trying to accomplish, there's just one more thing that you need to think about. If you've taken all of those things into proper consideration and you still want to move forward with contact, and it's the fact that you might not obtain the outcome that you're hoping for. Even while you might see that previous relationship and the other party involved through rose colored glasses, they might not share your perspective. They may not see you that way. They may not want that connection. Just because you're feeling open doesn't indicate that they are as well. They may be completely content with the present state of things. Additionally, if it's someone that you haven't spoken to in a while, you won't be fully aware of what's going on in their lives. Our lives were put in a complete upheaval with a disease that was spreading globally. We've had individuals lose their lives, jobs, and loved ones. This person that you're trying to connect with could be dealing with a major issue when your communication arrives to them. And the last thing they may need is communication from you out of the blue. The fact that individuals change is another factor. A lot of time has gone by since our previous fruitless correspondence, and I wasn't so open to their methods at this point. I still felt affection for them, but I'd evolved and altered as a result of the inner growth that I'd experienced throughout our time apart. I'd simply moved on. I consequently had an entirely new perspective on that individual. There used to be a strong fondness, but now there was a firm understanding that having them gone was better for my own mental health. The sad fact was that I just stopped missing them. To see how much you've changed, sometimes you need someone from your past to turn up again. I was well aware that if they had spoken to me 6 months earlier, I would have been a lot more receptive. And I'm okay with the way that things are now, and I don't ever want to put myself in that negative headspace again. I simply wanted to continue moving forward since the attachment or connection had faded. They didn't take well to the fact that I couldn't give them the response that they desired. Although it wasn't the most enjoyable experience, it did educate me to be more mindful of this in the event that the roles were ever reversed. Don't do it if you're not in the right frame of mind to deal with a reply that isn't brimming with warmth, or a clear rejection, or even worse, not getting a response at all. You have to accept the potential that things will not go exactly as you hoped. And you must be in a position to emotionally handle that rejection. We've recently experienced some very isolating times. It could appear very normal to reach out. You could get the opportunity to revive an old friendship. Or perhaps you'll learn that the romance actually ended years ago. Always take the risk, but make sure you're really interested in doing so and that you're ready for either a positive or negative reaction. Reaching out might be an opportunity to repair a connection, or it could provide you with the last rites of that relationship. Both can be very helpful, and you might pick up some priceless knowledge. Ironically, it could inadvertently provide you both an opportunity to just finally let it all go. And it's worthwhile to do just that.